The Wind is My Mother, Bear Heart, and Molly Larkin, Chapter 14, The Sacred Pipe. You may have heard of the peace pipe. Every time the white men and the Indians would get together to talk about treaties or peaceful relationships, the Indian way was to smoke the pipe first so the negotiations could be witnessed by the Great Spirit. The white man associated the pipe with the discussion of peace, and they are the ones who called it the peace pipe. But to Native American people, it's always been the sacred pipe, an instrument for communication with the Creator. Bringing the pipe to the people. Each tribe received the sacred pipe in a different way. The pipe came to the Creeks many generations ago while we were still in Alabama. One version of the old story among the Lakota was that the sun and the moon were husband and wife, and they have one daughter, the Morning Star. She's known as the most beautiful one, and that's the only name she has. She was commissioned to be the one to bring the pipe to the people, and she came down as a white buffalo calf to make the presentation. Although she came here as a buffalo, she then turned into a beautiful maiden dressed in white buckskin and carrying a bundle. Two men saw her, and one had lust in his heart and mind, thinking about what it would be like to be with a woman like that. Able to read his mind, she called him over, and he stood in front of her. A bluish whirlwind, a spirit wind, came and enveloped him, and when the whirlwind stopped, almost nothing but bones were left, and his remaining flesh was eaten by snakes. The other man had respect for her, so she told him to go and put several lodges together, big enough to gather all his people inside. I have something sacred to present to people. I will teach them how to use it and how to take care of it. In that way, she presented the sacred pipe to the people, asking for help. I have 5 pipes. I have a medicine pipe that I use for doctoring, an altar pipe I use when I run sweat lodges, a long distance pipe that I used for healing at great distances, a working pipe that's good for general prayer, and a personal pipe. I use my personal pipe if I'm asking for more strength in order to meet certain demands and needs. I once met a little boy born without arms who asked me, "Can God give me the rest of my arms?" I said, "I'd like to talk to you about it, but I'm quite busy right now, so we'll sit down and talk about it a little later." Knowing that it was not meant to be, that's when I used my personal pipe. I wasn't going to doctor him, so I didn't need to use my medicine pipe. I used my personal pipe to ask for strength and guidance as to what I could say to help him accept his condition and still make the most of his life without feeling great disappointment. I knew how he saw other children playing ball and how he missed things like that, so I had to rely on higher power to give me the strength and wisdom to talk to him. When I met with him afterwards, I said, "When we come into the world, there are many things God intends for us, and He must have something very special in store for you in order to bring you into this life without your arms. As you continue with your schooling, you'll find something that appeals to you, something that you'll really enjoy. Seek out all there is to know about it, specialize in it. Perhaps that's the area you're going to excel in. Any number of opportunities will be available to you. There's a certain amount of disadvantage at the moment, but you're not disabled by any means. Today, there are organizations that help little boys like you. They may have to give you mechanical arms so you could do things such as write and drive a car, but even now, you can still think, talk, see, and hear. And with those gifts, you can make something of your life. So don't think about changing the way you are. Accept it by saying, "This is what God intended for me. I'm going to make something of myself because He gave me other gifts. I can become anything I want to be. So we talked that way. It wasn't an easy thing to do, to talk to a boy like that when he expects so much, but that personal pipe helped me. Letting the Spirit have more of us. We've been taught that the bowl of the pipe represents the universe and the stem represents mankind, reminding us that we are related to all living things, and the tobacco that reaches the center of the bowl represents the Father of all creation, of all wisdom, from in our lives as the life of this universe. Creation of all wisdom, first in our lives and in the life of this universe. As sacred as the pipe is to us, we don't need it in order to pray. The pipe neither adds nor subtracts from the power of prayer. Power comes from on high, and pipe, beads, candles, incense, or anything that people might use in order to pray is meaningless if our heart's not right. If it's done for ego and ego alone, these things are nothing but trinkets. We must yield our lives to the greater power, and by so yielding, we may appreciate the power that comes from on high, and in that way, we can ask for anything that we desire. The form of prayer isn't important because whatever is in our hearts can be relayed to God, but ritual gives us focus and direction. We know sunlight has the power to burn paper, but it doesn't. It's only when we take that paper and hold a magnifying glass to it, intensifying the sunlight, that the paper will burn. Similarly, the power of the Creator is all around us, but we don't often focus it on any specific area. When we focus that power, we may get a stronger feeling of accomplishment. As we see the smoke of the pipe rise, we can almost see our prayer going up to the Creator, creating an atmosphere of prayer and encouraging us to pray. There are times in our lives when our prayers don't even seem to reach the ceiling because our spirits are so low. The pipe helps keep our spirits high. We must handle the pipe very carefully because we're not praying and talking to Creator about our own lives and the lives of our people, infants as well as old people and those in between. The smoking of the pipe is an appeal for healthy attitudes within a healthy body. That's what we ask for. And as we smoke, we're not inhaling. We're not just smoking for enjoyment. We're sending our prayers up with that smoke. It's not the smoke that's important, but the communication that goes with it. Most of my elders were non-smokers, except in ceremonial situations, and they told us to be careful when we smoked a pipe because there was a witness to our thoughts and prayers. We don't smoke a pipe to impress others. We smoke it because we have something in our heart and in our mind we want to tell Him about. The pipe has the power of its own to wipe out our tears. I will carry your pain to the one who can handle it for you. Representing the sacred. There is an old teaching that how we carry ourselves in public, away from our ceremonies, reflects on which we represent. We're not just out there by ourselves anymore. If you are a pipe carrier, if you are committed to any spiritual path, you represent what is sacred. And this is not for a week or a month. This is a lifetime commitment. There are many, many teachings that go along with the sacred pipe, qualities that a pipe carrier tries to attain. The first is humility. It's hard to be humble because you can't brag about it if you're really humble. My adopted Oto dad, Joe Carson, was of the Beaver Clan. The Beaver Clan picked out the campsites for the tribe as they moved from one place to another. Here's one for the chiefs. The warriors will be over here, the medicine people over there, the rest over here. For themselves, they were always way out on the tail end. They always camped away from the rest of the tribe, where they could view the entire campsite. That way, If there was a need anywhere, they could attend to it. Even today, a member of this clan cannot be a chief. They can be medicine people or warriors, but they cannot take positions of leadership. They don't even speak in public unless someone asks them to. Their main function is to serve the people, and they look upon it as privilege to be of service. Joe used to say this: the Beaver clan serves the people, and I am of this clan. But I was also an orphan, and that wasn't easy. You stand in line to get food, but usually in the back. By the time your turn comes around, most of the food is gone. When you get hurt, there's no mother or father to run to. It wasn't an easy life. I'm a poor man, and when anyone does something for me, I am so grateful that when I say thank you, I say it in my Indian Sign Language. The sign language for thank you is lifting a hand with an open palm and making a motion of bowing down. But me, I am so poor, I actually bow not only with my hand, but with my body, all the way down and touch the ground. I'm that humble. I'm that pitiful. I'm that grateful. I'm a nobody. One day, he was sitting in a teepee in Red Rock, Oklahoma, and called me over. Son, come here. I sat down beside him. I want you to watch these coals. He went over to the fire, sang a chant, and put his hands over the coals. Then he picked up some coals with his bare hands and held them. Watch me now. He cupped his hands with the hot coals between them, and when he opened his hands, a yellow hammerbird flew out. Still, he was a nobody. Joe was a peyote doctor in Native American church. If he was going to give medicine to a patient, he would chew the medicine, hold the fan of yellow hammer feathers in front of the patient's face, and spit the medicine into the patient's mouth by spitting through the fan. Next thing you know, it was in their mouth without even having opened it. He could do things like that. So if he's a nobody, then I'm nothing compared to him. Just call me nil. To be truly humble is not an indication of weakness. If someone has lied about you or taken advantage of you, you may be filled with all kinds of answers that you could make, but it takes a greater strength to keep quiet. When someone says such things against you, maybe they are envious and don't want you to succeed in life. They want you to hear about what they're saying and lose your cool. Instead, we go to the pipe, not for revenge, but to let a greater wisdom handle it, saying, "This is my situation. Only you can understand. So I offer you this smoke to you and place this problem in your hands with gratitude that you are here for me. I sit on Mother Earth so she may absorb my tears and bring me a sense of joy instead of hurt. I want to feel good, not only about myself, but about the person who said these things. Please take care of it. We've put it in the greater hands so it doesn't come around and nag us so much, and in that way we become stronger as a person and worthy as a pipe carrier." When someone does speak against us, whether it's unfounded or not, there's a certain amount of damage done to our character. And if what is said is true, as a pipe carrier, we will have the courage to own up to it. But if it's not true, we will still have the courage to talk to that person and say, "I heard that you said this. I take no offense. You felt in your heart that this was so, and it's your privilege to think and so say what you want. But I extend my hand to you because although I say it's not true, something caused you to say it, and that's going to make me watch myself more closely. You helped me with that, so I thank you." When we have the courage to extend our hand to that person, we help ourselves because we'll be strong enough to cope with any problem that comes up, And as far as our own conscience is concerned, we feel free. So we talk with confidence, look people in the eye, and go on. And that way, we're standing up for the pipe. We're being loyal to that pipe. They say, if you stand up for the pipe in times of need, the pipe will stand up for you. Our people also say that if you get angry, you've lost the battle. Likewise, it's said that as a pipe carrier, if we let anger get hold of our mind, our behavior is affected. Holding on to anger sometimes blocks that pipe stem and can turn back on us. If we clog it up with negative feelings, then smoke can't even go through, and that's when our mind goes all kinds of ways. We might live a clean life in one sense of the word, but we must also have a clean mind. One of the great teachings of the pipe is to always keep our pipe stems clean. The pipe is a reminder of how our lives should be. When we look at the stem, is it clear? Likewise, is our life clear? Are we clear enough to make a request of the Great Spirit? Asking ourselves those questions keeps us humble, because as we hold on to the pipe, it seems as if we are holding on to our own lives. We have to keep ourselves out of the way because we are instruments, channels. We keep the stem clean so that on one end, man, on the other end, the Creator, can make a communication. It's the same way in our lives. When we make a communication to others, we become channels. The pipe must be used in a positive way at all times. We must never ask for anything negative with the pipe, and even if we are financially destitute, we don't use the pipe to ask for money. We can make an appeal and say, if you can work away from me, I would like to meet my financial obligations. I have many. We're not directly asking for money, but to meet the needs that come up. And we don't make it a practice to use it like that over and over. We do it only when we really have a need for it. Another quality of a pipe carrier is compassion. Many people want to be compassionate, but don't know how. If someone comes up to you and says, I haven't eaten in 2 days, it won't mean anything to you if you've never been hungry in your life. But if you've gone without food for several days, as my people do on Vision Quest, then you'll know exactly what that person is talking about. Then you can truly be compassionate. An effective leader, if he's going to be of any great help to people, is also identified with his mate. What does that community think of her? Is she sharp-tongued? Does she cut people off, attack them verbally? Is she ready to strike at a moment's notice? Or is she easygoing, compassionate, nurturing type of person? It's not written as a rule, but it's felt. Maybe the wife never says much, but supports her mate and what he's trying to do. People feel that, sense that, because it's sincere. And anything that's sincere and godly things does not stay hidden. It begins to show itself in some way, in some form. Humility, courage, loyalty, compassion. These are just some of the qualities our people need to develop to earn the right to carry the sacred pipe. Among our Indian tribes, our leaders were not just those who were great warriors. The qualities expected of those who carry the sacred pipe were the same qualities we look for in our leaders. Even today, leaders are meant to set an example, to be role models for the young ones growing up. A leader must always keep in mind what is best for the tribe, not what is best for himself. A leader must be beyond reproach to hold on to the trust given by each voter who elected him to be that leader. He must not let them down. He must use what knowledge he has gained to bring about the betterment of the whole tribe, setting up programs in such a way that those who grow up in the next generations may have the benefits that will help them economically, socially, and above all, spiritually. Those are the things that a good leader always has in mind. When our elders in the past prayed, they always prayed for those coming after them, not what's here now, what can I get from it, but what can I put into this so that it will be long lasting. The chief in the old days was the poorest man in the tribe. When he came back from a hunt, he would give to the widows and the old people who could not go out and hunt for themselves. Whenever there was a need, he gave away willingly. He had very little for himself or his own family. That's how our leaders used to live, for the people, not for how much they could get for themselves. In the Bible, 2 questions were asked to gain entrance into the kingdom of heaven. When they were hungry, did you feed them? When they were naked, did you clothe them? Our leaders could have answered those questions with yes. Today is a good day to live. When we have an individual connection with a higher power, we feel protected as well as sustenance, encouragement, strength, and guidance. All of that is part of our relationship with our Creator, and we must always remember that we're not alone in anything we do. Whether we're at work or play, the identity with the Creator, that identity with our Creator, with those things we believe in, goes with us. In the old days, even the few violators of peace we had in our tribe exhibited strength of character and identification with the ways of our people. When our tribe was relocated to Indian Territory, we were allowed to maintain our own government and our own tribal laws that did not affect the white man. The law enforcement members of the tribe were called lighthouse men. They were the ones who brought in people to be tried and punished. Our laws were very strict. Incest, rape, and murder brought a death sentence. If someone stole something, even as simple as a handkerchief, he was given 10 lashes on his bare back. If he stole a second time, he received 20 lashes. A third offense would bring 50. If he committed something beyond that, in the eyes of our people, he had become a habitual stealer, so a fourth offense meant death. That's how we had enforcement among my people. We had no jails. So if someone was sentenced to death, judicial council would tell him, when this tree casts a shadow on that rock 2 moons from now, you be here in front of it. Then he would be permitted to go home and take care of his affairs. The accused was allowed to name his executioner, and it was usually his best friend. On the designated day, he would show up without jail, without being forced or handcuffed. We didn't have to drag him back. He didn't take off running somewhere else. He had every opportunity if he wanted to, but he was almost always came back, and the friend would aim a rifle at his heart. Before I was born, my half-sister's father, Jackson Knight, was called on to execute a friend. He couldn't sleep for days before the execution, but he had a job to do, to fulfill his friend's wishes, and the friend knew that there was no judgment on Jackson's part, no condemning. He accepted the fact that he'd brought this on himself, so he didn't hold Jackson accountable for his death. Yet still it bothered Jackson, and after the execution he said, "Allow me to put him away." He was the one that took his friend's life, and he was going to see that he was buried with dignity. When the accused appears for his execution, he showed his identification with the ways of our people. He didn't want to make it look bad for his own relatives. He didn't want his children to hear people say, "Hey, your dad's a coward." That's how we kept up our laws and their enforcement, and we didn't have too much crime as a result. This went on until Indian Territory became the state of Oklahoma in 1907. then the laws of the white man governed all of us, and they did away with executions by our tribal council. Native people have a saying that they strive to walk behind the pipe. It means that they do their best to incorporate the qualities associated with a pipe carrier into their lives, and that a commitment made while praying with the pipe is, and has always been, sacred. Although the representatives of the United States government also smoked a pipe when peace treaties were signed, they apparently did not view the pledge made with the pipe as sacred. More than 370 treaties were made between the United States and the Native American tribes, and the United States government broke every single one of them. George Armstrong Custer, famous for the Battle of Little Bighorn, had an obsession with the Indians. An example of his obsession occurred while he was stationed at Fort Supply in the northwest part of Oklahoma. There was a truce in effect with the Cheyenne, allowing them to live and hunt in that area, but General Sheridan was determined to eliminate the Indians despite the treaties, and sent Custer to do the job. In the winter of 1867 to 1868, a small band of Cheyenne was camped on the Washita River under the leadership of Black Kettle, who had always sought peace with the white man. Under the terms of the truce, the Cheyenne were allowed to hunt during the winter for survival. So this was a hunting camp, and they had women and children with them. The place was known as Horseshoe Mountain, but it was more like a mesa in the shape of a horseshoe. It made a good camp because the mesa provided a windbreak. When Custer's scouts located Black Kettle's camp, they reported back to Custer, and he brought his troops in during the night. It was freezing cold, and Custer ordered them not to make a sound, not even to light a cigarette that they could be seen. They stayed on the north side all night. Early in the morning, a woman gathering wood for her fire happened to look up and saw the soldiers silently coming in on both sides of the hill that surrounded their camp. She warned Chief Black Kettle, who, knowing of the Army's history of unprovoked attacks on Indian camps, gave the order to retreat. Everyone get ready and retreat, the soldiers are here. By the time they started to retreat, the soldiers had surrounded them and started shooting. They shot Black Kettle's wife's horse, so Black Kettle grabbed her and put her behind him on his horse. As he raised his hand in a gesture of peace, the soldiers shot and killed Black Kettle and his wife. Only a handful of children survived that battle. Most of the men and women were killed, but in the Eastern newspaper, Custer was reported as a hero for wiping out a whole band of marauding savages. This was an unsuspecting camp of peaceful Indians. During the attack, they had many opportunities to kill Custer, but they respected that truce because it was made with the sacred pipe. That's why they didn't fight back. They tried to retreat, and they were murdered instead. That's how far the meaning of the pipe goes for us. That's how sacred it is. There was a witness above who saw the pipe being used, saw the Cheyennes give their word, so they held true to it, though their lives were taken as a result. Custer and his men continued attacking Indian camps, killing as many as they could and raping the women. That's what got the Indians together. Too many of their loved ones had been slaughtered by Custer, and they decided to wipe him out. The Lakota, the Cheyenne, and other tribes left their differences behind and banded together, and their military strategy is yet to be equaled. In 1876, at Little Bighorn, Custer thought he caught the camp by surprise and attacked without waiting for reinforcements. The Indians appeared to retreat, so Custer said, "We've got him on the run," and fell right into the trap. There were other warriors in wait, and Custer and his men were surrounded. The battle became known as Custer's Last Stand, and every schoolchild has read about it. What's not in history books is that the Indians were instructed to take Custer alive, and if captured, he would have been tortured by the women. When the women got together and tortured a prisoner, it was real bad. They did things like put splinters in the genitals and set them on fire while the man was still alive. That was just one form of torture. There were a lot of things that women did, and they were mad enough to do them to Custer because he was responsible for the rape and murder of their loved ones. The story among the Indians is that, knowing he would be tortured, Custer took his own life. As a result, the Indians didn't take his scalp. He was known as Long Hair because of his long flowing hair, but Indians only took the scalps of enemies they viewed as courageous warriors. They left Custer alone because he was a coward in their eyes. In that battle, the Indian warriors had an opportunity to fight until death because the reasons for fighting was to take revenge for those who were victimized, women raped, child murdered or orphaned, and elders whom they had loved shot down without opportunity to defend themselves. Throughout the day, the battle cry was, "This is a good day to die. Whether they kill me or not, I'm going to take some with me." It was that kind of fight. Don't hold back. Don't stand back. We came here to defend our loved ones. It's a good day to die. This was the way they encouraged one another. And so, with historical past like that, because their ancestors did die, Native Americans today can rally up and say, because of them, this is a good day to live. This is a good day to continue with our ceremonies and share our spiritual values so that one day the white and the red who fought one another can truly live in spirit of oneness. Let it be our battle cry everywhere so that not only Indians, but everyone can truly say, this is a good day to live.